Welcome back to Module 3 about nurture sequences. Here in Lesson 3, we will be talking about freebie style nurture sequences. So again, reminder from last lesson, this is what you use if you don't have an immediate next step, an immediate purchase or registration that you're going to ask for your subscribers to take. When I've surveyed my audience, this is going to be used about 75% of the time. Because when I've surveyed my audience, it tends to be that for the most part, people don't have that immediate next step that they're asking people to take. And if that's you, this is the style we're going to use. So here in Lesson 3, we're going to talk about and you're going to learn how to craft a freebie style nurture sequence, including how many emails to send and how to space them out. So we're going to kind of dive deep and really give you the nitty-gritty of how to create this sequence if it is what you're going to be creating if you are using the freebie style. So quick reminder from last lesson, with a freebie style nurture sequence, you establish credibility by getting subscribers a quick win. So the entire purpose of a nurture sequence that is a freebie style is to help your subscribers use and unpack the value from the freebie that they just downloaded from you. That's what you're going to do, and that's the goal, and that's your purpose. So that's going to help kind of guide you in constructing this sequence. Now, let's start with the question that I hear in just about every sequence. When I'm talking about sequences, people say, how many emails should you include? How many emails should I include in this sequence? And the funny thing is, I'm going to give you the typical lawyer answer, even though this isn't me being a lawyer. And that is that the number of emails you include will depend on your freebie. And what I mean by that, we're going to talk about a couple of different examples, but like if you have a very simple freebie, it's going to dictate a pretty simple sequence. If you have a more involved freebie, it's going to involve you're going to have a more involved nurture sequence because there's more to unpack. So think of it in terms of the steps subscribers need to take to get a win from your freebie and then send one email per step. And if it's obviously they need to take the steps in order, those emails are going to go in order. Or if it's different topic areas, you're going to send them and you can kind of choose how to put them. But ideally, they would follow what is in the freebie in kind of the order it appears. So that's the general concept. You're going to focus on how many steps are there or how many core areas of things that do they need to do, and that's how you pick the number of emails. So let's talk examples. Simple freebies. For a simple freebie, you can often use a one email sequence that just gives them a kick in the ass to do the work. For my privacy policy legal template, when I was using a simple, not an attempt to get them to buy something, this is what I used. It was just hey, have you put it on your website yet? Because again, you use it by just filling in the blanks, by watching the thing, by doing the work, and then putting it on your website. And so if that's the nature of the freebie, if you have some kind of simple guide, simple checklist, something that is very easy and simple to do, the important thing is simply to check in with them and get them to do the stinking work. And so often you can have just that simple kind of single one email sequence. And it's weird to call a one email a sequence, but it is because it's an automated thing happening when people sign up. And I'll talk in a second about kind of an advanced strategy you can use to add an email to this kind of sequence. But really, if you have a simple freebie, it really is just a single email to get them to do the work. So that's often what you'll do with a simple freebie. Now, if you had a more involved freebie, let's say you had an ebook with a bunch of different topics, you're probably going to use one email per each major thing the freebie tells them to do or each major topic covered by the freebie. So if I had a legal guide, and we will have these coming out as I'm recording this, we're going to revamp some things and have some legal guides for specific types of business that will have various things that are covered. Well, for that, there will be one email per per thing that needs to be included, per thing that needs to be done, because it's expanding on it, helping them to understand it and really get the value from it. So that's what you would do for a more involved freebie. So this is something, if you think about it, if you have a multiple step process you're talking people through, if you have like a 50-page ebook or something like that, you're going to break it down by steps that you're going to ask them to take or topic areas and send one email per topic. Now, then you're often also going to want to send a kick in the butt email. Hope you did it kind of towards the end. So you could add that in as well. Then with a video series freebie, this is kind of the other big kind, you'll generally want one email per video or per topic area if it's a more involved series. And by a more involved series here, I'll use the example. I have something called my academy, the Legal Academy, that helps walk entrepreneurs through the basic concepts that they need about the legal stuff. Now, I don't remember how many videos are in it. I think there's like 30 videos. So I'm not going to send 30 videos, but it's organized by topic areas. So I would send one email per major topic area and really dive into that topic area in that email. So that's what you would use for a video series. So those are examples, and most freebies are going to fall into one of these categories, right? Because a quiz would be something that falls into kind of the more advanced type of freebie. A checklist, a guide is either going to be a simple freebie or a more involved kind of written freebie, and then you have a video series. So that's how you do it. But if you have any freebie, you can figure out what to do by saying, how many steps am I asking them to take, and or how many major topic areas am I covering, and one email per thing. And each one of those videos is unpacking the value. Now, here's the advanced emails advanced strategy I was talking about. If you have another freebie related to the one they downloaded, include an extra email that invites them to grab that too. I will refer to these extra freebies as like a secondary freebie. So for example, I mentioned a second ago that I have that Legal Academy. I don't tend to send people directly into that because it is such a big thing. It is not a quick win. But when someone comes into my legal world, having that in a nurture sequence where I say, hey, I've also got this other great resource for you to check out. Click here to register and get your spot. That if you think about the purpose of it, it's adding even more credibility, more kind of credence to me as the guide, and also establishing one of my core beliefs of being a radical giver. So that's why I do it. But this is a great way to really cement yourself as the trusted guide through your nurture sequence. So if you have a secondary freebie that's related, look, they're already on your list. So just get them access. And it could be as simple as they click on something and you have an automation set up that automatically gives them the freebie then. So just think about that as an email that you might want to add to your sequence. So that's the one I mentioned when I was talking about the simple one email sequence. You might add this. So that's the how many and kind of the topics for the emails. Now let's talk about how do you write the emails that you do include, right? Because that's the next big question. You say, okay, great. So you told me what emails. How do I do it? So again, quick reminder, subscribers are just getting into your world, so they will have limited patience with your emails. They don't want an epic tale at this point. So short, sweet, and to the point emails work best for nurture sequences. You're going to want to use those, and you're going to want to use that as your overall kind of guide in doing this. The structure for these emails, this is going to be what I call the email structure to rule them all. This is the structure that you will be using most frequently in drafting emails throughout everything I'm going to teach you. It's the 3-part structure: the hook to get their attention, the story from your life or an analogy to build the know and the like, and a call to action to give them something to do. So here, the story, I mentioned earlier in lesson 1 that this might be a good place to use analogies instead of stories because they tend to be shorter. But the concept is that you'll come up with that story related to your call to action, and your call to action in each one of these emails is going to be to take action related to the topic that you're covering. So again, in the simple single email nurture sequences, do the work, right? And that's kind of it. But in a more involved, where you have various topics, you're going to go through the topic a little bit and then say, do the work related to that topic, right? You're going to give them a piece of homework or a piece of something to do related to that subject you're talking about. So that's what you're going to go. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time here talking about how to write these emails, because in the resources tab or the resources module here inside of Badass Email Marketing, you will find a lesson about writing story-based emails. That lesson goes deep into this subject, and that's going to be your repeated resource. Anytime you're going to use this structure, you'll go there, and that will help you to guide how you create these emails. So go there, and that's how you'll learn how to kind of do this drafting. Now, let's talk about the next question. How should you space the emails over time? Once you've got them written, if it's a 5 emails, again, if it's a 1 email, it's pretty easy, but if it's a 5 email sequence, how do you space them? Do you do them weekly? Do you do them daily? What do you do? Now, remember, you're trying to get subscribers a quick win. So you want to send your nurture emails quickly. You don't want your nurture sequence to be something that takes 5 weeks, because if your freebie takes them 5 weeks to get a win from, that's not the result you want. So you want to put them together more quickly. So with your nurture sequence, you'll generally send an email each day or maybe every other day. The case where I would say every other day is like if you have a more involved freebie, like a video series, and there are lots of things for them to do with each video, etc., then you might want to give them that extra day, an implementation day, if you will. But otherwise, I would just send them back to back to back to back, because the point is to give them that value. And before you worry and say, yeah, but won't they get tired of me? Some people will, and that's okay. But if you're giving them value, and if the emails are written to help them actually get the work done and get the stuff, like take the actions they need to take, they will appreciate it because you're helping them. You're not hurting them. So do it every day or every other day for a kind of if the lessons are bigger and more involved. Now, the key lesson takeaway for a freebie style nurture sequence: create emails that will help subscribers unpack and get a quick win from your freebie. That's the single goal you're trying to do, is help them do that. You figure out how many based on how involved your freebie is, how many steps there are, how many content areas, and that's what decides how you structure the overall nurture sequence. So that's it. Now you know how to create a freebie style nurture sequence. In the next lesson, you'll learn the 2 varieties of product style nurture sequences. This is the other kind of nurture sequence, and we're going to go deep into it, talk about 2 different kinds, the 3 kinds of emails that you'll use in those nurture sequences, and the specific order for those emails. I'll see you in the next lesson.